that has a range over 900 miles. Even the Bell 412 they have don't even have a range. Bell has a range of 400 miles. Right? 4 fighter jets, they're like just over $200,000 a piece. Right? The drones they buy don't even have a range even 25 miles. And they've never flown as of yet. Right? So the money they spent could have gotten 4 fighter jets to fly over 900 miles.
Yeah.
Right?
Kaieteur Radio.
Covering Guyana from coast to coast.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Berbice 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
It is now 12 hours. We will take a short break from the rebroadcast of the Glenn Law Show to make space for your main newscast for Saturday, December 18th, 2021. Do stay tuned to Kaieteur Radio.
This is the news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
You're listening to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. I'm Kevin Smith. These are the top stories we're tracking. Fraud accused PS cuts checks for contractor before signing contract. Pays half immediately, balance weeks later. AG flags ad hoc procurement of COVID-19 supplies. Found $424 million in contracts awarded without tender board approval. International lawyer says Exxon must get Yellowtail environmental impact assessment right before EPA authorization. A lesson for Guyana, countries with high debt portfolios at risk of defaulting, says the UN Secretary General. Get the full details of these stories and more after the break.
Save big for Christmas with Survival Supermarket's Early Bird Sale. From December the 22nd to the 24th, from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., you, our customers, will receive a big 10% discount store-wide. Hop in and get shopping. It's Survival Supermarket Early Bird Sale. 10% discount just for you. On December the 22nd to the 24th, from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. 3 hours of fun for 3 days at our Survival Supermarket Sharp Street branch. Shop Price Smart with Survival.
And now for the news in detail. The Ministry of Amerindian Affairs last year not only sole-sourced the purchase of 112 tractors and trailers for Amerindian villages and communities on the basis of market research and not competitive bidding, the checks were drawn up for payment even before a contract was signed. The state of affairs is documented in the Auditor General report for 2021, covering a period when the now fraud-accused Permanent Secretary Sharon Hicks was the accounting officer for that ministry and would have been responsible for such contracts. The Auditor General found that 6 transactions amounting to the contract sum of $446.8 million were processed on 30th and 31st of December 2020, while the checks were drawn on January 4th, 2021. As such, it would mean that Hicks cut the checks for the contractor before signing the contract in order to ensure that the monies would not have to be returned to the consolidated fund. In other news, Auditor General Deodat Sharma has flagged the ad hoc procurement of COVID-19 supplies by the Ministry of Public Health and the Civil Defense Commission for the period March 2020 to August 2020. Sharma said a review was conducted on the procurement process used, the storage and accounting for items and purchased, that should be items purchased and gifts received, and the distribution of hampers. He said this was done to determine whether the activities were done in compliance with relevant laws, regulations, guidelines, and international best practice. But following this audit, the AG noted that a total of 18 contracts valued at over $424 million were awarded before approval was received from NPTAB. He stressed that this is not in keeping with the nation's laws. Health Ministry officials explained that with the reports of the coronavirus, Guyana was put on notice to be in a state of readiness in the event that the coronavirus impacts Guyana in the near future. And moving on, international lawyer Melinda Janke has submitted to the EPA that ESSO, which will be undertaking the Yellowtail project in Guyana's waters, must first get its environmental impact assessment right before permits are granted. In her submissions to the EPA, Janke, an international lawyer of over 30 years, said, and I quote, "It is clear that the environmental impact assessment produced by ERM, the consultant hired by Exxon, contains conclusions that are contrary to science, gives assurances that are unsupported by evidence, and lacks the technical and other data necessary to provide an adequate professional assessment of the environmental impacts of the proposed Yellowtail project." Janke did not only make submissions based on her opinion and personal knowledge, but also included independent reviews from international experts in the field. One such person who gave their reviews was Dr. Eric Cords. Dr. Cords' report states that sections of the assessment reviewed by him are missing critical information that is required to make an informed decision. And moving on. Economic growth across the world has stagnated, if not retrogressed in some parts of the world. This has led to escalating inflation rates globally, which has left many with high debt portfolios, such as Guyana, exposed to the risk of defaulting on repayments. This was the stark warning handed to world leaders on Thursday when UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who in his final address for the year, observed that at the end of a difficult year, while advanced economies were able to mobilize nearly 28% of their gross domestic product into economic recovery, for middle-income countries, that number fell to 6.5%. And even worse, it plummeted to 1.8% for the least developed countries, a tiny percentage of a very small amount. Successive administrations in Guyana, when confronted with concerns about the level of the country's debt, have pointed to the sustainability of its repayments. The country's debts, however, have in the recent past been coming under intense scrutiny, with as much as a third of this year's budget being financed through loans. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. We will return after the break.
Nothing in life is free, but the MyDigiCell app is. You don't need to be on a data plan to use the app. You can conveniently chat with Ruby or an agent for help, check your account balance, activate a Prime bundle, or gift it to a friend. Send credit, check the Georgetown and Burpees Bridge schedules, activate a roaming plan, play Shake to Win for cool prizes. So don't worry about a data plan, buddy. Download the MyDigiCell app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store today. Digicel, better together.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. The Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development on Thursday approached the National Assembly to seek over $500 million more towards the payment of security charges. But when a member of the opposition questioned the amount, he was told by the subject Minister Nigel Dharamlal that he is out of order. The question was raised by opposition member and Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Mr. Lennox Schumann, was in relation to why the government is requesting those exorbitant sums from the contingency fund to pay for security if the crime rate is down, as was reported by the Minister of Home Affairs. Schumann was not too pleased with the minister's response and in fact noted that he was shocked at Dharamlal's failure to defend himself. And moving on. 2 GDF members, along with a businessman, were on Thursday released on $300,000 bail each after they were charged for stealing some $745 million worth of fuel from Guy Oil. The defendants are 34-year-old Delon Wilson, 35-year-old Terry Milling, former GDF ranks, along with businessman 48-year-old Gangadeo Surdat. It is alleged that between January 1st, 2015 and January 30th, 2020, at the Guy Oil Terminal, Providence, East Bank, Demerara, they conspired together with persons unknown and stole $745.5 million worth of fuel, the same being the property of the GDF. The men are expected to reappear in court on January 27, 2022, for the continuation of the matter. In other news, Minister of Home Affairs Robeson Ben announced yesterday that the government will be constructing a modern 11-story police station complex at Brickdam, Georgetown. This facility will be replacing the Brickdam Police Station, which was completely destroyed by fire on October 2nd last. The minister said that following the fire, he and stakeholders, along with engineers, had discussed rebuilding the Brickdam Police Station. It should be recalled that on October 2nd, a devastating fire flattened the police station, along with 2 vehicles and a business place close by. During the announcement of the new building, no price of what it would cost was revealed. And now let's tell you, more than 2 months after she was allegedly caught red-handed collecting a bribe from a contractor, the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs, 42-year-old Sharon Hicks of Underneming, West Bank, Demerara, was yesterday charged for the offense. She denied the charge, which stated that she obtained for herself $200,000 as an inducement or reward for processing the payment requests for security services provided. The matter was adjourned to December 20th for statements. And shocking news, police are investigating a fiery 3-vehicle accident that occurred this morning around 4 hours 30 in Ross Village, West Coast, Berbice, which claimed the lives of 6 persons. The dead were identified as 29-year-old Joel Jacobs, 22-year-old Jamal Lynch, and 23-year-old Lyndon McFarlane, who were traveling in the same vehicle. Also killed in the accident were Jason Saul, Kiana Doe, and Gary Blair. As Blair was pinned in his vehicle and died on the spot, 3 other persons were flung onto the roadway. Reports also reveal that a man was found burnt almost beyond recognition in his car. In other news, 2 more persons who tested positive for COVID-19 have died. Guyana's COVID-19 death toll has moved to 1,028. The latest fatalities are that of an unvaccinated 49-year-old woman from Region 7 and a fully vaccinated 82-year-old from Region 6. 23 new cases were recorded, taking the total number of confirmed cases to 38,751. 13 patients are admitted into the ICU, 44 persons in institutional isolation, 630 in home isolation, and 3 in institutional quarantine. To date, a total of 37,036 persons have recovered from the virus. The CJIA project needs another $25 million for new offices. Thank God it is in Guyana dollars and not American greenbacks. This is how Guyana governments and contractors rip this country off and drain taxpayers. $25 million here, $25 million there, and soon there is enough to build another airport. Who are the people we have for leaders around these projects? And with that, we've come to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's Newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.
Okay.
We have a call on the line.
You know, let the call hold for me one
problem.
second.
That's fine.
I want to touch, there's something I want to tell this nation. That we carried a story today in which the government